Holy moly, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We have some breaking news for Rezolve to share with you. This actually comes from Dan Wagner, and it is of importance, okay? Because Rezolve only reports on a biannual basis, they were not actually going to report official earnings until, call it March or so. Nope. That's wrong. We're going to be getting an update here in the coming weeks. This is a massive development for Rezolve. Gives us a little bit to look forward to as a shareholder and an investor. Now, I wish Dan Wagner would respond to me, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about, obviously, this news. Something else that has recently happened that is very suggestive that the stock is about to go through quite a rally. And again, I'm going to highlight some of your major events this week, and in a nutshell, why I think you're about to see this market and a stock like Rezolve explode to the upside. Do me a quick favor before we get into all of this information. Hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. That is the easiest way to show your appreciation for these videos, to keep these videos coming on Rezolve. If you guys want to take it a step further, come trade and invest with us. Mainly invest. We do some short-term trading stuff, but we're going out to find the next big AI winners like a Rezolve and investing in them early, right? You think Rezolve has hype? You think Rezolve is all hyped up? No. Even in fact, we first invested and identified Rezolve back in June and July, right? We were investing in the stock at $2. Now, I didn't sell at $8 because I think the company has a lot more potential than that, okay? But, you know, if that was your choice, you could have done that. But we are going to be first to identify the big winners, okay? So come join us. Link down below in the description of today's episode for the trading community if you'd like to come join us. With that said, let's get started with the big news here, okay? Thank you, Carlos Mata on X, for tagging me in this, because, you know, Dan Wagner doesn't respond to me. I think he just, maybe he doesn't like me. I don't know. But Dan Wagner on November 15th, so yesterday, on Saturday, he shared this from Rezolve AI's X account. Like, I know he sees my post, okay? He shared Rezolve AI's post here of the live demo that Rezolve gave, which was, you know, pretty good to finally see some kind of demo. He says, "Thank goodness my wife doesn't use Twitter and X." Yeah, that's not the news I'm bringing you, okay? What is under this is big news. Carlos Mata, apologies if I'm butchering that, says, and I'll like all of this, okay? He says, "Dan, my family office has a significant amount invested in Rezolve. I like the vision, but we need an update versus ARR 2025 targets. When can you give us some flash report?" So basically, okay, he has a lot of money invested in Rezolve, but he's asking for an update versus the 2025 targets. So do you guys remember what the 2025 target is for Rezolve, for ARR? It is 150 million. Okay. Do we remember what the 2026 target is? 500 million. That is 333% growth projected from 2025 to 2026. Okay. But what Dan Wagner says here in December, we're going to get an updated, like finalized 2025 number. And I would bet it's going to be a lot higher than 150 million. I bet it's 200 million. Something like that. 200, 250 million, we'll see. And that maybe allows Rezolve to raise guidance for 2026. Now, you know, I think Dan and Rezolve are maybe relatively smart for waiting to put out that information. Preferably, you don't want to put out big news during down spells in markets. I mean, we have a stock we just invested in that's pretty similar to Rezolve in like a valuation sense. It's trading at less than 2 times sales. It's projecting to grow at like 400% next year. Like pretty similar metrics to Rezolve. That stock, they just raised guidance massively like a week ago, and the stock did nothing. Nothing. Wall Street just did not care. So Dan Wagner says we will get an update to 2025 ARR targets. We will, assuming they go up, right? Assuming we achieve and beat 150 million for the 2025 ARR. I wouldn't be surprised if they raise 2026 targets a fair bit as well. Carlos here tags me, so again, thank you for that. He says, despite the recent share price performance, I would be inclined to buy a bit more. And yeah, like, I like the stock at $2 when I bought it. I like the stock at $8 when I held it. And I like the stock at $3 as I continue to hold it. I think anyone buying Rezolve today has a much better risk-reward profile than $8, $7, $6, $5, $4, $3.50, right? Because the valuation has just gotten cheaper and cheaper. When I first bought Rezolve, it was trading at between 7 and 10 times sales. Okay. Today, it's trading at less than 2 times sales based on 2026. Now, if they raise guidance, it could be trading at less than that. So, like, think about this on a probability metric, right? If you're buying Rezolve today, your probabilities that you're going to make money are really good, okay? With the kind of valuation you're looking at here. Now, when do they actually turn profitable? Things like that. That's another question, okay? But generally, price to sales is a pretty good way of evaluating an unprofitable business. And less than 2 times sales, most AI companies that are unprofitable are trading at 10 to 20 times sales. So Rezolve could have quite an upside move with just a little bit of news. I will also say the RSI is sitting at 26.55, so you are very oversold, right? Even after, Friday you had a bit of a recovery. You hit $2.71 at the low. You ended up closing the day at just under $2.99. Got a little bit of rejection around $3.07. That was the high of the day on Friday. So you definitely want to break above that 200-day moving average. That's going to give you more strength to make a run back to the $4 area. But I think from a valuation perspective, there's a lot of room for Rezolve to run here. Okay, from a chart perspective, from a relative strength position, there's a lot of room to run here. I think you just need to get this market that starts to participate a little bit more, where, you haven't seen that. Look at Meta, down 20% from recent highs. Look at Oracle, down 35% from recent highs. Are we really shocked that Rezolve has fallen so much? Look at even the stocks that everyone loves. Okay, but I think this week that all changes. As I talked about in the prior video, the one thing that markets hate more than anything is uncertainty. Humans hate uncertainty. Imagine this. Imagine if your wife or whoever it is texts you when you're at work and says, "We need to talk when you get home," period. And then you say, "Okay, what's this about?" And she doesn't respond. You're going to probably try to delay getting home. You're probably going to take an extra trip on your way home to buy some time, right? You're probably going to be pretty reluctant to have that conversation. We don't like uncertainty. Okay? It might piss you off if they don't tell you what it's about. But then you hear the bad news, your snail died or something, who cares, right? Big deal. It's the same way in markets. We've had this government shutdown. There's uncertainty about what's going on in the economy, and boom, you have a sell-off in risk assets. You have a sell-off in AI stocks. You have a sell-off in a stock like Rezolve. Not a big shocker. But this week is when things start to change. When we start to get a little bit more certainty. Home Depot reports earnings Tuesday pre-market. Target and TJX and Lowe's report Wednesday pre-market. Walmart reports Thursday pre-market. Also on Thursday, you're going to be getting the September jobs report, which is going to tell you more about the, how the economy is doing. These big box retailers are going to tell you how the consumer is doing. Critically important, okay? It's going to give you more certainty. NVIDIA, Jensen Huang just said on October 8th that AI computing demand is up substantially. He said over the last 6 months, he says, quote, this year, particularly the last 6 months, demand for computing has gone up substantially. Let's not act brand new here, okay? Let's not act brand new. He says demand for Blackwell is really, really high. He said of NVIDIA's most advanced graphics processing unit. I think we're at the beginning of a new build-out, beginning of a new industrial revolution. Okay, let's not act brand new here. Jensen Huang, he's a rock star. He's going to come out on Thursday and basically tell you the same thing over again. But this time, Wall Street's going to think it's brand new information. Wall Street's going to be like, oh my gosh, AI is doing great. It's alive and well. No shit, it's alive and well. It never faltered, okay? Just the sentiment did. Now, that's important because once you start to get the markets, the turnaround, Rezolve is really going to turn around. Now, look at this here, okay? Hello, short interest. The short interest in Rezolve went from, depending on when we're looking at here, October 17th, it was 11%, okay? About a month ago exactly. Today, 5%. That's the last actual number we had. But the estimate, 4.83%. 4.83%. As the stock has fallen, as the valuation has gotten even crazier, right? Crazy low. Wall Street is covering. They don't want to be short in Rezolve. They don't think there's a good risk reward to be short. They're flip-flopping. Even on Friday, you had 1.23 million shares that were covered on. It's pretty clear. Better days are ahead for Rezolve. Now, let's be clear. I do still have a massive position in the stock, so I'm biased, okay? I have, 14,500 shares plus 15,500 shares? 30,000 shares plus 1,000 shares in Webull plus 1,300 shares in Thinkorswim. I have 32,300 shares in Rezolve at this point. The only selling or repositioning I've done is I did sell the options, the 250 calls for February, because, I don't know what's going to happen definitively between now and February. I wanted to take the, $2,000, $2,500 value those had and potentially convert that into equity in Rezolve, okay, or anywhere else, right? Options expire worthless. Shares do not. So that was just risk reward kind of thing, trying not to time or gamify this as much as I already have to. Okay, so times that by $2.99. Okay, let's try that again. Where's the history? Okay, let's try that again. 32,300 times $2.99. Still got about $97,000 invested in the stock. Okay, so we are heavily positioned at this point. I'm barely up on my position now because of averaging up when the stock was in the 3s and the 4s, but I'm very comfortable with Rezolve. I have no issues with the stock. Nothing has changed. Just the sentiment and the valuation has gotten cheaper. And now I think you're at a point where this thing's about to explode to the upside. So let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check the link out down below if you guys want to come join the trading community. But with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.